In this video, I'm going to be talking about what's going on with UK house prices. So if you find this useful, hit that like button, but also subscribe to the channel. I will be talking through an article on the Money to the Masses website. There's a link in the notes. You can read it yourself, but you can watch the video, pause it where you want to see the data that I'm going to show on screen. So I'm going to jump straight across to that particular article on the Money to the Masses website. So you can see here what is going to happen to UK house prices. Now, there are lots of factors that influence house prices, from the health of the economy to interest rates with the Bank of England and, of course, supply and demand. But I can't predict exactly what's going to happen with house prices. Nobody can. I don't have a crystal ball. But what I can do is look at various indices that are published regularly that give you an idea of what's been going on with UK house prices, and from that you can then try and predict what might happen going into the future. So there's a range of indices. I'm going to run through a number of them. The first one here, you can see the UK house price index. Now, this is the most accurate of the various house price indices that are out there because it's based upon sales, both cash sales and those with a mortgage, and it's a wide-ranging data set from HM Land Registry and other government sources. And as you can see on screen, the annual change has pushed above that 2% level, which is obviously higher than the last time I provided an update on the housing market in the UK. We can now see that it's about 2.2% as of the July data. One thing to point out, that the UK house price index data lags. So the latest data we have got is July. So if we skip on to the other indices out there, these give you a bit more of an idea of what's going on right now in the housing market. Now, the nationwide house price index is based upon the mortgage providers' own data in terms of mortgage approvals. Now, looking at that data, you can see that they're showing that the annual price change has actually increased and is now above 3% level. So that is why you've probably been seeing headlines suggesting that house prices are growing at their fastest rate in 2 years. Nationwide have actually provided some interesting insight. You can see it in italics there. They've stated that income growth has continued to outstrip house price growth in recent months, while borrowing costs have edged lower, and that's due to the expectations for the Bank of England base rate to continue to head lower. So that's actually provided some of the positivity in the UK housing market, which has resulted in that increase in house prices as we go into the end of 2024. Now, the Halifax house price index, this is actually, again, another index that's provided by lender based upon 300,000 mortgage approvals. Now, their recent data has shown that we are seeing an annual change that's increased to 4.7% in September 2024. Now, interestingly, they point out that you have to look at these increases in context. And again, looking at the insight they've provided, and we quote it there in italics, looking back over the last 2 years, prices have actually increased by just 0.4%. So what we've really seen is these increases this year, we're playing catch up from last year. So it's positive news for the housing market, but obviously we've got to put it in the context of recent history. Now, if we move on to the last index that I look at in this roundup, Rightmove House Price Index, you all know the Rightmove portal where you go on and look at houses and look at house prices. This is more of a steer on what sellers want, so they're asking prices, so it uses that data to provide insights. Now, Rightmove have provided insight, which you can see there in italics. They say that the autumn action has started early with a strong rebound in activity from buyers and sellers compared to the subdued market at this time last year. So we're seeing that continued positive momentum, but they are suggesting there is still some uncertainty. And one of the biggest uncertainties that we're hearing from lots of commentators within the housing market is, of course, in relation to the budget at the end of October, whether there's going to be changes announced by the Chancellor. So there you are, a roundup of what's been happening in the UK housing market. It's probably the most positive story I've been able to tell over the last few years as I've been doing these updates. If you found it useful, make sure you hit that like button, but also subscribe to the channel.